And thank you. Today we have Lynne Patton with the HUD Regional Administrator for New York and New Jersey. How are you, Lynne?
Great, Christina. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here and to see you again.
Thank you. I'm so happy and thankful that you had the time to spend with us to talk about COVID-19 and the impact that it's had on the housing community. Just a couple questions that we wanted to, take the opportunity for you to address. This
Sure.
global thing. So this global pandemic has impacted us all in different ways, as we talked about earlier today, but it's had a very devastating impact for at-risk and vulnerable populations in our region. So how has your department, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, been working to support the corona recovery virus?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Christina. And yes, New York and New Jersey were the epicenter of this virus, the most devastated region of the country, no question. We obviously suffered our hardest hit quite a while ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. By working together, we were able to lower the curve, and we're now on a downward trajectory in both cases and deaths. But, this administration signed the CARES Act. Some of you out there have probably heard about it back in March. Overwhelming bipartisan support in Congress. Both Democrats and Republicans passed this amazing aid package. President Trump signed off on it, over $2 trillion. I believe HUD got about $211 million for New Jersey, which is great. That comes in the form of community development block grants, which some of you might have heard about before. It also comes in the form of emergency services grants. Community service development block grants can be used for housing, health, and food programs for low-income and elderly persons. Emergency services grants, ESG, so many acronyms in HUD. Grants can be used for temporary and permanent transitional housing for homeless. Really, that funding is about getting homeless persons off the streets and safely into transitional permanent housing. And then, of course, public housing also got a lot of grants. New Jersey, I believe, got about $21 million. Let me see here, $23 million. And that can be used by public housing authorities to buy personal protective equipment, implement preventative health measures, such as, extra cleaning, transportation to and from health units for residents, also cleaning supplies, sanitation improvements. I know the New York City Public Housing, for example, used it to hire 2 outside vendors to come in and sort of give additional help with respect to janitorial services because they just didn't have the staff to clean every building every day. So they've hired about an extra 2,600 janitors through that money, which has really helped stay on top of sanitation and cleaning, which is, as we know, so important during this time because unfortunately, not only was New York and New Jersey the hardest hit, but we now know that the other disparately impacted community are low income and distressed minorities. So, and that is usually a large part of HUD's clientele who we help. So
I used to serve as a commissioner for the Elizabeth Housing Authority, and we actually have Kathy Hart, who's also part of the program, and she was discussing to us how much and how helpful the funding that you've provided has been for her community. I think that people don't realize that not every public housing is the same and serve the same people. Yes, they are at risk, but say, for example, the city of Elizabeth, where you have such a diverse community in terms of age and ethnicity, they're serving seniors, they're serving children, working families. So it's really tough. So
And
kudos.
you have such a great sort of agency down there. I know you've been doing a lot of work down there long before this virus when you were there, and really helped prepare Elizabeth for facing this pandemic, because had you guys not taken the steps to sort of turn that agency around, I'm sure it would have been a lot harder. And it's unfortunate that there are some public housing authorities that were not as effective as Elizabeth. And so we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, no matter where they live in public housing, to be safe in their home.
And we'll definitely get to that in just a little bit, where we can talk about resources and what public housing authorities and public officials can do to reach out to HUD and work possibly with like the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, or, and establish strategic partnerships and additional funding resources. But I think another important topic that we should talk about is rental assistance, which just made the news. I mean, we've been talking about it forever, but Governor Phil Murphy and the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs just yesterday announced COVID-19 emergency rental assistance program to provide rental relief to low and moderate income families. And I believe, and it's my understanding that the majority of that funding is from the federal stimulus package.
Yes, so I'm a huge fan of Governor Murphy. No offense to him, but even a bigger fan of his Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver. She's fantastic. We go to events together. Chuck Richmond, who runs New Jersey DCA, also a huge fan. The three of them are real powerhouses. And yes, they announced yesterday a program for folks who live in New Jersey who are affected by the coronavirus, either by loss of income or loss of job. Usually those go hand in hand, or maybe they're sick and can't work right now, or maybe they're taking care of an elderly resident or relative who's sick and thus can't work right now. So because of that, they launched a program called the Rental Assistance Program, which, yes, uses about $100 million, the majority of which is from HUD CARES Act. And in order to apply for this, go to newjersey.gov/DCA, and anybody's eligible, not just low income, but primarily low income, primarily, public housing residents. But if it's all relative. If you make a certain amount of money but have 8 people in your family, that money doesn't go as far. So, we're willing to cover folks who are a family of 1 up to a family of 20. But yes, some of the things that I wanted to point out is that the application deadline is July 17th. So we really encourage you to call that number, go on the website, which I'll tweet out after this, and you guys hopefully can post the same.
Yep.
And applicants will be selected through a lottery process. You will be approved by July 21st. Payments for your rent will begin in September. The payments will be made directly to the landlord. You will be responsible for 30% of your rent. So we'll cover the rest, but you will still be responsible for 30%, almost like public housing authorities. But this is for, again, any resident of New Jersey who's been affected by COVID in terms of rental assistance and the ability to pay their rent.
I do have to know, I believe that the application will only be available online and over the phone. There won't be any paper applications. Is that correct?
I believe that's the case. So we encourage you, to, if you're in, low income housing, to work with maybe your on-site monitor or manager or coordinator. Also, you can call HUD. I'll post that number on my Twitter account after this. We'll help walk you through it. You can call New Jersey DCA. They'll help walk you through it. What
is your Twitter account?
Oh,
so we can follow you.
My handle is Lynne Patton HUD. So Lynne Patton, HUD, at Twitter. So, yeah, and we want to say that your rent will be paid starting in September for 3 months, and then you'll be reassessed for another 3 months. But for the most part, if your status hasn't changed, that will continue to be paid. But obviously, we would encourage folks to try to look for a job during that time, the first 3 months, or try to get better, get the assistance and help they need to re-enter the workforce.
Yeah, so I definitely encourage people to follow you on your Twitter. We don't want to inundate you with a ton of questions, but they can also feel free to send us their questions directly to Stateside Affairs or to DCA. You know, we live in a very virtual world right now. This is how we are connected. So I think, I think it's doable, and I think that, we can engage with the general public that way.
Yes, and I think this sort of virtual world might stay like this for a while. I'm very impressed by how effective HUD has been able to continue to run from home. Literally, you're beaming into my personal home right now.
Thanks for having us.
The thing that I've kind of found fascinating about COVID is that I get to see everybody's houses, which, being inherently nosy has been kind of entertaining during this time, but otherwise, it's been, of course, I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but yeah. So if you want to get that rental assistance, we encourage you to go to the DCA website. Again, that's newjersey.gov/DCA. Cool.
So thanks for sharing that information. So we're going to have to wrap up soon, but my last question to you is, New Jersey is in a state that it's still reopening. We are seeing spikes across the country. So far, New Jersey, I think, has a good handle on it, but we don't know what the future lies, right? And so what I think of, and I have this conversation a lot with folks, is I have the privilege that I have a backyard where if I need a break or some fresh air, I can walk there for that. Not everybody does. And so what is your recommendation for other public housing authorities, public entities that work with you on how to prepare for a possible second wave? Again, none of us wants it.
Of course not.
So being preventative and having those resources are really important to the vitality of our communities.
Yes. Well, like you said earlier, and like I said earlier, New Jersey has gotten a significant portion of money, over 83 million in ESG grants, over, I believe, 85 million in CDBG, and also about 23 for public housing authorities, over 200 million altogether. Those agencies know exactly how best to use it. Again, it's about the safety and health of the residents, making sure that, they have the PPE, this hand sanitizer, that they're keeping a safe distance, that, the public housing authorities can implement those types of standards, hire more people, hire more caretakers if necessary. I also think it's important to follow the instructions of Governor Murphy and Lieutenant Governor Oliver. Both of them did such an excellent job at the height of this crisis with their daily briefings, as did Governor Cuomo. I think it's important to use face masks. I think it's important to social distance. I think if you can, it's important to get tested. Testing is now commonly available in almost every city, easily found. If you go to the CDC website, I think if you go to Governor Murphy's website, the New Jersey governor's website, you can find your local testing center. A lot of folks are getting the antibodies test now, which will help you basically confirm that you've had it if you didn't show symptoms. I think it's important to be aware also of what blood type you are. I think it's important during this time to try to get as healthy as you can. I know in the beginning, a lot of us were snacking on the sofa. I know I'm guilty of that. It was very stressful. We were watching a lot of Tiger King, but
Watched it. Guilty.
yes, guilty. But I do want to say that now a lot of us in preparation for the fall and winter really should be trying to get our weight down, really should be trying to get healthy, because we do know that some of those obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, those are all comorbidities to having a harder time recovering from this virus. So,
and so, like you said, some of the funding that HUD provides is for the housing authorities to use on food and health services to the residents.
Yes, food deliveries. I know that World Kitchen, we've been working with them. I know that they've delivered hundreds of thousands of meals in New York with the assistance of New York City Mayor's Office, NYCHA, myself. I know that they've been helping folks in Newark. Mayor Ras Baraka has been doing a great job there as well. And so all of the mayors have. Trenton, Patterson, I could go on, but Elizabeth, you guys have great leadership in New Jersey. And the best part is everybody's following the directions. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily going on everywhere. But if you use common sense, follow the instructions, really obviously respect one another, we'll get through this.
Perfect. Thank you so much again for taking the time to be with us. Lynne Patton with HUD Regional Director for New York and New Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.